plot twist and picks him up using one of her many tentacles. Ryu gets scared because he didn't notice her walking up. Seeing this, she tells him he doesn't know anything about their world, and it looks like she'll have to teach him everything from the beginning. Her name is Gloria, and she is an Arborean Dryad, which is one of the rarest species, and she is also Fleonel's right hand. Just then, Fleonel walks up with lunch and asks Ryu to eat together, but she's surprised to see him talking with Gloria. She gets a little angry, but hides it well and tells them it's time to move on to the next phase of their plan. They head to the General Staff Office, where Lyot and some soldiers are waiting. Fleonel stands in front of everyone and begins to speak. She tells them that they've only been fighting using scattered guerrilla tactics, and these methods can help them avoid big battles. But this kind of war only lets the strong survive. She says that it's not a way to win completely, and if they want a real victory, they need to take control of a proper stronghold. FL Jonal explains that a stronghold will give them supply routes, places to make weapons, and open space to train soldiers properly. She says once they have a base like that, they'll finally be able to fight the full power of the human army. After that, she tells them the object is already chosen. Then Fleonel points at a large map and shows them a place surrounded by advanced tech cannons, high walls, and layered tech barriers that make it very hard to enter. The place is called Fortress City Coldwood, and it used to be a main base for the human army during the war. After the meeting, they all head toward the fortress right away, and when they get there, Ryu is shocked to see that the place is massive. Lyot walks beside him and explains that Coldblood was once an important place for all Inhumans, but after the humans captured it, they rebuilt the whole city and forced the Inhuman citizens into slavery and threw them into internment camps. Lyot reveals that even his daughter, Lyanna, was taken and made a prisoner. Ryu notices the pain in Lyot's voice and the anger in his eyes. Lyot says that today is finally the day they will take back the city. Fleonel agrees and says the fortress is still fully equipped and explains that in the past, people said it couldn't be conquered. But after the war ended, the human army left and the Imperial Coalition claimed it for themselves without fighting. Ryu stares at the city and asks Fleonel if taking it back would really free all the captured Inhumans. Then he asks about their plan, and Fleonel says the human side is still weak and they haven't recovered from the last battle, where they lost 30,000 soldiers. She says that this time, the Inhumans will also have a bigger army and can overwhelm them with numbers. After that, they begin their strategy and Fleonel builds a secret underground tunnel that leads into the city. She says this will confuse the humans and make them think the attack is coming from somewhere else. She says even though they have fewer fighters, they might be able to slip in and win, and the best case would be if the humans just surrendered and handed over the fortress. Ryu looks up at the enormous gates and asks if surrender is even possible. Hearing this, Fleonel says that she also doesn't believe they will surrender and says it might be a trap. She tells him that they will send in their strongest fighters, Lyot and the Sage Tree Gloria. Ryu frowns when he hears that name and asks if TH. And Fancy Tree Girl is really coming. He doesn't like her energy and says something about her feeling off. As they go deeper into the city, they sense a horrible smell in the air. Ryu asks if they're near an internment camp, but as they move forward, the sight becomes worse. Ryu sees human skulls and piles of rotting corpses and even bodies hanging from ropes. He calls out to Lyot in shock, but Lyot is stunned too, and he tells Ryu that these were once prisoners and Inhumans like them, who were worked to death as slaves. They keep walking, but the city is empty and no one is left alive in this area. Seeing this, Lyot grows more and more frustrated and asks if there are any survivors at all. He begins to fear that his daughter Lyanna might already be dead. Just as they are about to move forward, they hear voices in the distance. They hear one person say that he wants the prisoners to do more work, but since there are too many of them, they need to figure out how to use the useless ones. He says he will use some of them to create their paradise, and the others will be used as shields. The group realizes the voices are coming from enemy soldiers talking about the captured Inhumans. They decide to move in closer, and they finally see the remaining prisoners, and Lyot sees his daughter, Lyanna, among them. The enemy commander, who looks like a peeled potato, says that because of what happened a few days ago, his company lost 30,000 soldiers and took serious damage. And now their reputation is under threat, so if they lose this city too, it will ruin them. The person who is talking is the Imperial Coalition's co-representative director, and his name is Bob. Bob says they still have something important, and orders the prisoners to take down the Dark Queen and her allies. However, the prisoners stand frozen and don't move. which makes the commander furious and he yells at them again, but they still stay still. Suddenly, one of the prisoners steps forward and says that they could never harm their comrades, especially when those comrades came to save them. Hearing this, the commander shoots him dead on the spot with an explosion. Fleonel and the others get furious to see this, while the commander shouts again and orders the prisoners to finish them. This time, some of the prisoners give in and charge forward to attack. Lyanna runs straight toward her father and asks him to forgive her, and then she pulls out a knife and tries to stab him, but Lyot dodges the attack. Just then, another prisoner steps forward and also says it's wrong to attack their own people, and the commander shoots him too. Seeing this, Ryu gets angry and he wants to rush in to attack, but someone tells him not to, and he realizes that it's too far and he wouldn't make it in time. Ryu then calls out to Fleonel to take some step, but Gloria warns Fleonel not to move yet. Lyot remains calm and tells Ryu that it hurts because when they tried to save the prisoners earlier, they only made their suffering worse. Hearing this, Ryu asks if they're really supposed to leave the prisoners behind again. Just then, Lyanna calls Lyot, which makes the commander laugh, and he calls her a monster's daughter. He says that in the prison, they ran all kinds of tests on how to eliminate Inhumans, and the most interesting results came when family members were forced to fight each other. Then he orders Lyanna to finish off Lyot. Hearing this, Lyot gets furious, but the commander says he's not patient enough to wait, and then he threatens to end Lyanna himself if she doesn't act. Lyanna charges at her dad and stabs him with the knife, and then she begs him to pretend to collapse and say that it's the only way to keep him alive. Lyot agrees and falls to his knees and pretends to be hurt badly. Seeing this, the commander thinks that he never believed the weak prisoners could beat him anyway. He says it was his plan to do this before Fleonel could act, and then he activates the collars around everyone's necks. This time, every prisoner is affected, and they all scream in pain. He tells them that it's a burst-type weapon and a gamma bomb that is set off at close range, and no barrier would be able to stop it. He says that they'll all be blown to pieces. Hearing this, Ryu trembles with fury and finally understands that the commander planned to finish off everyone from the start. Just then, finishes her analysis and gives Fleonel the signal to move. Fleonel calls Ryu and grabs his hands, and she transforms into her full, large magical form. She apologizes to everyone for making them wait. Then she unleashes her third forbidden spell, known as Vast Imperative Nullification with Unbiased Eyes. The technique wipes out everyone's pain and destroys all the explosive collars at once.